So there are certain toys out there that are just iconic, or people have real fond memories of them, and this is one of those. So I had this just at the bottom of a box, shown a friend some other stuff, and they're like, oh, do I spy a Thundertank? And I was thinking, yeah, you do spy a Thundertank, but it's in an absolute sorry state, which is why I haven't shown you it. It's like none of it works, so the articulation when it pops up, all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, you know what, I will try and restore this one, bring it back cosmetically and get some of the stuff working. So what you can see is we've got the hinge door. So what should really happen is you push the seat back down here. It's supposed to all lock in place, which it doesn't really do. It's supposed to and make horrible noises like that. And then you push this part down at the back, and through a whole load of interacting springs and stuff, this is supposed to pop up. The legs are supposed to finish up, with these finishing down, so like this kind of position, and with its mouth open. And these are supposed to also fire open. It's all very violent. It flings itself open. As you can see, it's like the seat isn't going down properly. If you push the back, oh, there we go. It's not even doing anything right now. Oh, so there it pops up. We've got the wheels down, but then the arms are supposed to be up here, which they're not. That mouth isn't working very well. So that's kind of like the state of play at the minute. So the first thing really to do is just work out how to take this thing apart, and it's just going to be a lot of screws, I would imagine. So let's start with that process. Let's see. So we've got some on the bottoms, some here in the housings, some in the arms as well. I'll tell you what, let's start with these front arms. Okay, so those two screws there allow the whole arm to come out with, and then what happens there, there's a little kind of insert, and then we've got this ring with those two parts in there. Now what's in there is that looks like someone's put blue tack inside that arm. Is that a sign of someone trying to repair this so that it's stayed up in the air? So I'll leave this on this side. So again, same again. So let's go for the this rear track section. As I mentioned, it's missing the actual tracks that would go on these rollers. There's two. So with this one, again, an insert, a round piece of piping, and then okay, so the track just comes off at the back, and then it's somehow connected on the. I think just wiggle that out. There's a little plastic pin that fits inside that groove, so I guess you just jiggle it out. I've noticed there's some screws on these, so every other kind of part there is a screw, and I'm guessing that's just to articulate the rollers. They're literally just sat on those screws. Okay, now we're down that far. We've got some screws here at the bottom, 3 or 4 on each side, and there's also some screws in here as well, and 4 at the back. Let's take this back section off here with these 4. There's the little bits inside, because obviously this is where we push down, so there's going to be a spring in this section. I'm expecting it might go pinging off. So when you're repairing something with a spring, try and watch where it's at, or take things off slowly in case the position isn't that obvious. Oh right, so it's as simple as that. We've got the rear section, and then as I mentioned, the spring literally just sits on this little stub, and so the spring is just about retaining this in an upright position, because it's acting down on these parts. So these arms are obviously going to go inside there, and then when you press down them just further along inside, they're going to be kind of acting on something else. So these bits here, do they slide out? Yeah, you kind of do an up down, And I'll be able to tell if things are broken as I go because they're coming out in pairs. This is going to be one where there's going to be just bits everywhere. So the back's come off. I still can't get access to that seat or further down because that's going to need the sides to come off. So this one here, hopefully I'll just be able to jiggle it out. If not, the sides can, when the side comes off, it should come out as well. Looks like someone's kind of been pulling at those doors anyway. I'll tell you what, let's not force the issue on this. Let's just take the sides off and then that should come out. And I'm going to start on the left hand side. Okay, so here's the side coming off now. And look, we've got a spring in here. So these kind of things with time as well, the springs can stretch. And we had this little arm. Look, there's damage there. Look, that's broken there. And I wonder if, well, first of all, we'll have to work out where this has come from. So that was this way round. Sits in that hole there. Then when you move this, I guess when you push it down, it must move that out of the way. So this section here would come down, and then that holds that in place. And then when you, oh Christ, then when you move that out of the way, that spring is then pulling that back up. At the same time, we can see it's pushing this section here, it's pushing these arms down. So when you reset it by pushing that, that's sliding there, and then this bit here is going to, I'm thinking, interact on these bits as well. So there must be some way in which that wants to move up. I think it's something like this little section here. It's got to be something like, what would that be attached to? So that's what I'm thinking so far. We have got this bit of damage here, this thing. And do we see anything different between the two? Both of them have that little groove at the back as well, so I'm not entirely sure where that's come from yet. Let's carry on with the screws, like the body screws. Just gives us a bottom housing, so it holds that bar down. And here's another spring. Here's our chair mechanism that sits down, and then that part sits on the front, and then there's a spring here. So let's get that off there. So what would that spring, is that spring, like when it gets pulled, it would close? So yeah, the only way we're going to get this out now is doing the side part. So we'll go all the way. So once that's done, take those away. So now finally the chair comes out. So at this point, we now have a table full of 1985 Thundercat. And so of course the best thing to do to start with is to give everything just a really thorough clean and slowly just rebuilding it and then seeing if we can actually get the mechanism to work. That'll be a real good start. Okay, so that's me back from giving the Thundertank its bath, and you can see the stuff just spread all the way across the table now. Now, I did learn a few things whilst I was scrubbing it. Firstly, this top section here that lives like there, you can actually take it off. There's 4 screws that live under the bottom, and it's purely to attach that part, but it enabled me to get in and clean this a little bit better. Secondly, most of the greys have come up reasonably well. If you remember this part here, it was absolutely filthy. But the parts in particular that I like are the reds. The reds have really come up nicely. Unfortunately, on one of them, there was a crack on the back of one of the tracks just here. And literally just during like the scrubbing process, this rear wheel has fallen off. And I think that's because sometimes when you reset it, you push down on the rear. Yeah, and then the other thing is I've worked out what that little piece is and why the front legs aren't moving, and probably why someone put that blue tack in as a workaround to get them to stay in the air. So basically that part on this arm, do you remember I pointed out that little bit there? If you put that on there, see how that's come off there. So it has a little tag like this little bit that sticks out, and as that mechanism moves, then this tag, I'm guessing, is kind of hit down when everything kind of flicks, and then when it's reset, this tag will then kind of sit that way. So it takes a lot of hitting, like bang on there. So that's all done, and the next step really is to just start rebuilding it and fixing things as we come across them. First thing, I think I'll pop this back on with its 4 screws. Next, from memory, it was this mouth part going back down to the chair, so I'll look at that. So it was this bit went on there, and then there was the front bit wasn't there, that bit held it in place, and then we also had this bar on the spring. So first of all, I'll clean this spring up and also kind of just re-tighten it just a little bit tighter. It didn't need, if you have to do any more, it's basically a case of you start cutting parts off and then remaking the end. There we go, sits forward so that those parts sit in the groove, spring goes through the gap, that sits on there. Those parts just naturally want to sit there anyway, so that's all good. And then this bit here then covered up and held everything in place. So those legs actually quite nicely just seat themselves, you can see. Once you've got these bits in, they get locked in when you've like hooked the front on. So let's move on to mechanism. Okay, I've checked. I was so close. It was just that bit needed to go underneath the other bit, and those screws were the other way around. So now I'm going to just very quickly clean the spring up. And this misshapen part here, that bit I'll just rebend so it doesn't fall off. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? And there. And then the bit that I'd got wrong was this actually needs to go underneath, so like that. Right, so that's the mechanism done. I just want to feel if they're about the same. So the arms were actually one of the very last things, but we need to understand how those arms work so that we can fix them so they fire. So when it's in this position, that's supposed to be like that. And I think maybe that tab is supposed to be there. And then when you then retract everything, if you like that, you push that lever, and that lever pushes the arm down. Let's go. First things first, old-fashioned, bit of super glue, see what happens. The one thing that we have in our favour is that there is like quite a large surface area, and it's not like flat on flat. There's grooves and stuff, so you know there's potential that it'll hold. It's that trick, isn't there? You can put bicarbonate soda on it. It's supposed to give a stronger hold than just super glue on its own. Doesn't look too bad. Can it withstand a spring whacking it though? Right, so that's how I think the mechanism is supposed to work. And then as you retract your gunner seat, that would then lock, and I think gravity would hold all that in place. You release, pushes that down. This should just drop down under its weight. And I do think this could be a candidate for just like the lightest of touches of silicone grease. So I think that should now operate a little bit more freely. Right, so now let's have a look at how we're going to go about making something like that for this side. All I can really think is a screw, or maybe like another piece of plastic that's then like stuck on, but making that shape. Right, I think it might have to be a case of the moldable plastic. So if you haven't seen it before, it's just like, it's called like moldable plastic. To that you just literally put it in boiling water, it goes all plasticky, and then and then when you cool it off, it sets rock hard. So here's some pieces here that are left over from previous. Okay, so I've boiled the kettle, and I find if the smaller container you can use, the better, because if you get like a big bowl, the water the heat dissipates quite quickly. Poured it onto that piece of white that you saw, and as it goes clear, that means it's like melting and it's turning moldable. So obviously just be careful because this is boiling water. And then what you can see is you're then able to shape this stuff. So there, see, like I've shaped the base. I can always trim this bottom bit off, or even push it round like that. If you want to kind of make it set to itself, you can do that as well. So I think if I cut off that section there, it'll look very similar to the other one. And you can use a knife, but I also find sometimes with this material, just a sharp pair of scissors can work as well. With this one, it might be that the grinder is a bit better. Okay, so that seems to have only actually needed one more go. I'll show you on here. So I've kind of made it drop down a bit more and thickened it up, and then I've done the same thing. So although it had a slight mechanical hold by being wrapped around on two sides, I've added in the super glue and the bicarbonate of soda, and that actually seems pretty strong. So let's pop it on and see if the two arms work now. There we go. Right, so that's the two holes in. It sits on there, and then move this out of the way, push it down. That then allows it to drop. So if I show you face on, there we go. I mean, it's not quite as high, but you know, I think that's pretty good compared to neither of those working before. Now they both raise up. Let's attach the right-hand sides. On the other side, this is where we're missing a little latch from there. And again, that's where you just kind of melt a bit of plastic on or something like that. Okay, I'm back with you, and I knew that bit was going to take some time, so I did it off camera, as I thought the moldable plastic wasn't going to work. And so what I did was melt down the arm and then seat in it like a very thin, long bolt, and then coaxed with my soldering iron plastic, like stole it from the lower parts of the arm and the other bits, and like coaxed it onto there, and then finished off with the super glue and the bicarbonate of soda. It's not the prettiest, because when it's open you'll see that bit of arm, but we're all about trying to get a functional fix in this one today. Now this bit again, I think could be a nice area just to put a little bit of that silicone grease, because this is the bit that we pop up and down, because that needs to go on there at the back. Right, so I'm guessing that sits either side of that. Okay, right, I think I've got it. So I was putting this here, wasn't I? Which makes no sense. What you have to do is put it behind, so that when it's up, you're basically like doing that mechanism. So as you push down, it's going to move them away, and as you move up, they should then drop back into position. Yeah, there we go. But they're moving forwards and backwards now, because when you push the spring down, you're manually forcing it away, and those little plastic V's are then pushing it, like returning it to the forward position. It's actually very clever if you think about it. So let's get that secured. Track now on this right hand side. You know what I've just spotted? You know how I was telling you about how one of the wheels had broken off on one of the tracks at the back, and I said that's probably like a stress point where when people reset it, they like push back on the wheels. I've just noticed it's snapped off on this side as well. Yeah, they're almost identical brakes. Look at that there. And on this one over here, look at that. Almost matches up exactly the same. What's the best we can do? I mean, I can put some super glue on it. So the reason it has these kind of black things is it's supposed to have a track that goes over there, runs, you know, kind of along the bottom. But I've seen online, like, they're just ridiculous. Like, they must perish after so long. Original ones seem to cost a fortune. Replicas are like 20 to 40, I think, each. I've even seen people 3D printing them, and they're just for displays, because obviously you can't really move it because the plastic is solid. I think what I'm going to do is I've got a crazy idea. I'm just going to go and grab something and see if it will do the job for this video. Okay, bear with me. It doesn't look perfect, but I was going to throw this away. It's stuff that I was, it's like flooring that you put in your garage. And I think that why don't I just like trim like some of this, wrap it round, bit of black electrical tape or double-sided tape on the inside, and it might look all right. I mean, it's better than nothing, so let's give that a go. Not bad. Let's get the other side done. Okay, so that's the tracks put on, and I think it's time for me to clear the decks, and let's see if this thing actually like does what it's supposed to do. Okay, so here we are, and for expectation management, I want you to remember just how bad this looked at the start. It was just like, it was absolutely filthy, things were broken, things weren't working, we didn't know why they didn't work. And throughout the course of this video, you've seen me strip it down, clean it, like strip the whole thing down, fashion new parts, mold plastic, make tracks, and I've shown you the entirety of the mechanism. So if your Thunder tank's not working and you found this, hopefully there'll be enough information in there to fix whatever is broken in yours. And I actually think that looking at it now, unless someone like started pointing things out, first impressions up on a shelf, I actually think it looks pretty good, especially if you popped a couple of figures in there. But of course we need to know, did I manage to fix the mechanism? And there's only one thing to do, and that's give it a go and find out. So we know it's supposed to end up like this, with the claws deployed, the mouth open, the guns out, everything like that. But in its normal state, we push down here, make sure it's all locked off on both sides, close the hatches. Looks like this little claw just needs a nudge down just to go flat, but this is how it would look normally, ready to deploy. And then I'm going to use that mechanism on the back, probably push down firmly on both sides to give it its best chance, and hopefully it will all spring open. So keep your fingers crossed for me. 3, 2, 1, and there we go. Look at that, wasn't that awesome? And then you put your figure in there, Panther would sit on the back with his gun, just absolutely brilliant. And I tell you what, why don't I show you a side view and give it another go. So push down on the back, make sure both sides are locked off. Here we are, so as a side view, 3, 2, 1, and then you can see it all deploying like that. Absolutely fantastic. Now, if you've liked this video, do me a favor, just click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, but it really helps me out and it really helps the channel out. And if you have enjoyed the video, you'll probably enjoy the one that's coming up there or up there as well. But until the next one, all the best, take care, and see ya.
Get in, Chitara!